So basically, the NGEN program is a one-year executive leadership development program. It's designed to cultivate visionary leaders from, again, all across areas of the energy industry. Um, so basically, it provides participants with exclusive and a collaborative forum to enhance those leadership skills, to foster cross-sector collaboration, drive innovation, and figure out some of these challenges. I was a cohort member, I think 2023, and it was, I don't want to say life-changing because that sounds very dramatic, but it was a fascinating experience.
It
And
can
Mark,
be
I guess,
life-changing.
well, yeah, like,
Yeah,
and I guess,
professional
like,
programs can have a huge impact on your life. Yeah.
yeah, yes. So we also do have our applications for our upcoming 2026 cohort. They are due in 10 days, so closing August 15th. For any of those listeners interested, you can reach out to me and happy to share more perspectives on the program. And Mark, maybe I'll send if you have a link to post.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. We can post in the show notes. Yeah.
Great. And we're expecting
I,
your application too.
yeah.
Just because the facts are A, if the narrative is B and everyone believes the narrative, then B is what matters. But it's our job in our industry to speak up proudly, soberly, and to engage people in this dialogue. Those 2.5 billion people that are in energy poverty, they need us.
America cannot meet this threat alone.
If there is a single country,
of course, the world cannot meet it without America.
that is willing
We're
to
going to need you, the next generation, to finish the
overhaul
job.
nuclear regulation
We need scientists to design new
and
fuels.
focus on net public
We
benefit
need engineers to invent new technologies. We
over absurd levels of radiation
need
protection,
entrepreneurs to sell those
then
technologies.
we will march towards this.
We need workers to operate assembly lines that hum with high-tech, zero-carbon
We have
components.
unlimited prosperity for all humans.
We need diplomats and businessmen and women and Peace Corps volunteers to help developing nations skip past the dirty phase of development and transition to sustainable sources of energy. In other words, we need you.
Okay, welcome to another episode of the Fire to Fission podcast, where we talk about energy-dense fuels and how they can better human lives. We've got a special guest today, Tayler Amatto, the Associate Principal at Charles River Associates and the future president of the Energy Leadership Institute. How you doing, Taylor?
Good. Thank you for having me. I'm well.
Yeah. Really excited to chat about background and the Energy Leadership Institute and all the things. So, Taylor, for guests, why don't you give us a quick, like 30-second elevator pitch? Tell us kind of what your day job is right now, and then we'll dive into your background.
Sure. Sounds good. Hi, everyone. My name is Tayler Amatto. As Mark said, I'm an associate principal with a firm called Charles River Associates, which is an expert-led economics consulting firm based out of Boston, but I am here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. My background, I graduated from the University of Calgary with an economics degree, more so focused on energy economics, and then started my career within consulting, worked for Accenture and PwC, and then recently worked for a private equity firm called Azimuth, which was a great experience. Working on a fund that was 100% dedicated to energy transition and low carbon fuels, which was really exciting. And then I've been with Charles River Associates ever since November. And my work kind of spans a few different areas. At Charles River, we do a lot of work within the energy space with utilities. And obviously, it's a very exciting time right now with utilities, with AI, load growth, reshoring of manufacturing, et cetera, in North America. And so it's been really interesting doing some work within the resource adequacy space, understanding, is there going to be enough power to support this scale of growth? And then also working with a few different clients on various strategy initiatives too.
Nice, awesome. I can't wait to work through kind of all of that. But let's start with your education. Why did you pick energy economics, right, at the University of Calgary?
Yeah. So for those of you who are familiar with Calgary, Calgary is a very oil and gas town. So energy is kind of,
Denver's sister city, right?
yeah, exactly. Although I think Calgary's prettier, but that's fine. But that's kind of what we've been brought up with. And so it just kind of seemed natural. It was a good kind of landing point within a few different, gas markets, oil markets, electricity markets. And at the time, I was also doing a minor in math as well, just because I enjoyed math. So it was kind of the best of both worlds. And then graduated, and I'm working through my CFA program as well, sadly. But yeah, it was a good experience. And I also did a little bit of master's work too at the University of Wyoming within project finance, which was nice for my last role at Azimuth. Just to kind of, get some more expertise within the area.
Nice. So you went to work for Accenture right out of school?
Yeah, I started with them as an intern actually, and then joined them full time after grad. and actually worked in London in the UK for a bit, and then came back, and then decided to join my manager at PwC, and so worked on some finance transformation initiatives with various types of clients, more manufacturing, ag. That was really interesting. And then kind of decided to do a bit of a career pivot, I guess, and be like, I want to focus on CFA and get some more finance chops. So I actually took a 1-year contract position as an analyst, which was, kind of a couple steps down, but I just wanted to learn with Azimuth, a private equity firm based here in Calgary and in California, and ended up staying there for 3.5 years.
Nice. And CFA, the acronym, right, for dummies that aren't in finance,
I
certified.
think it's chartered financial analyst.
Yeah, analyst, right? Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I guess, what was PwC?
The firm it's a Big Four accounting firm, but they also have advisory services too. So I was on the advisory consulting side.
Nice. And so, what drew you to private equity? Why did you want to jump into that?
I think for a couple different reasons. One, private equity is a nice, in my opinion, kind of bridge between, full investment banking and then coming more from a consulting background. Azimuth too, I was attracted to them just based on they've been in the Calgary, Alberta market, Western Canada market for over 20 years, kind of started their roots within traditional oil and gas, but was branching out into energy transition. And at the time, it was very topical and relevant. So it was a great opportunity to learn about that. And when I started, I didn't know much about hydrogen and came out with a lot more knowledge on it, for example.
Nice. So, I mean, this was like 1 year stint, wanted to get exposure to it, but then ended up staying for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
What, and like, what kind of companies was Azimuth investing in? And when was this? I guess, was this like 2020, 2021?
Yeah, exactly. I think I joined in 2021. So they had a bit of a unique approach, starting with kind of more project development type opportunities where they would actually kind of start a company in-house and then look to expand it with some external capital as well. So got to work on a few early stage development companies, most notably one being in the low carbon hydrogen and ammonia space. Basically, it was a blue, if I can use colors, again, hydrogen ammonia play on the US Gulf Coast for shipment of ammonia and methyl cyclohexane into primarily Japan. So that was really interesting, kind of starting from, strategy, onset, market analysis, and then moving into, working with some of the team on some of the early stage pre-feed work. And then beyond that into actually like commercial negotiations and offtake discussions. So that was really interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess circling back to your education, like what drew you to economics? I mean, like when I've interacted with you, you're very well versed, you're well read, right? You've got lots of experience with a lot of the energy industry. I mean, did you want to like have a cast a wide net? I mean,
Yeah, I think, and it was more just kind of quantitative focused as well. And I kind of thought about maybe doing business, but I realized I don't really want to be an accountant, and that's what I kind of associated business with accounting at the time. And so thought economics would be a better fit. And I mean, I haven't really practiced or done a lot of work within economics from when I graduated until I started with Charles River. But I think now just taking that economics view into things, and obviously it's very relevant for the market in regards to, or for utilities in regards to market design, in regards to, how generators submit their bids and whatnot, and market power mitigation. So it's very relevant to the utility space. So it's been really nice kind of coming full circle around that.
yeah, that's awesome. So how did you pivot from Azimuth to, I guess you did a little stint in the government, right?
I
And then
did,
Charles
yeah.
River.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to do a bit of a small stint with the provincial government, working on their sustainable investing initiatives, and then moving into working on some of the nuclear work. So the province is exploring what nuclear development could mean within the province of Alberta. And for those of you who maybe are not familiar, Alberta is a bit unique. One, we have an energy-only market, so we're kind of more like an ERCOT, Texas style. Two, majority of our demand comes from industrial use. We're not a huge province. We don't have a huge population, and the population is kind of centered within two main cities who are
What is the
relative.
population of Alberta? I should know this.
I should know this too. I think it's like maybe
Should we
four and
look
a
it
half,
up? We'll look
five
it up.
million. So it's growing. It's growing quite rapidly. Actually, there's been a lot of movement into the province from other provinces, from BC, from Ontario.
5 million. There we
Okay.
go.
Things are a bit cheaper out here. There's lots of space, so it's a, in my opinion, a great place to be. You got the mountains, you got the cities, so it's great.
It is beautiful. When I visited, it's fantastic. Like,
Yeah.
haven't been in the summer, only the winter, but
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
winters
very
can be a
fun.
little long and miserable. But yeah, it's still pretty
And with
nice.
skiing, I mean, Banff's right there.
Mhm.
You know, you got the
Mhm.
Canadian Rockies. Yeah.
Yeah. Cross country skiing too. So it's
So, but work with the government, like looking into nuclear and like what nuclear
yeah,
could
so
mean in
yeah,
for
so the
Alberta.
province is looking at what that could mean. There's obviously a lot of nuances here, being, as I said, an energy only market. So kind of the typical, if you look at maybe Ontario, how the government has kind of taken a financing role and funding role that wouldn't be as favored within Alberta, just because it's more of a hands-off, like let the market forces do its work. So that obviously creates challenges, because I'm sure you guys have talked lots on this podcast about the need for some federal or some government funding. Now that could come from the federal government within Canada, but provincial, there could just be a bit of a nuance there. And then as well, just finding like the proper use cases for it, right? We have a lot of gas, and Alberta actually has, before our electricity mix was a lot of coal. And within the past, I think, couple of years, they managed to transition off coal completely. And luckily, we have a lot of natural gas resources here. And so natural gas is kind of our main fuel provider. We also have some renewable developments as well, but natural gas has kind of been key. So it's hard to maybe compete, with nuclear, and especially at the grid scale, with that availability of low cost gas and abundant gas, I should say too. So again, trying to think about, okay, so nuclear, does that mean more the SMR route, and maybe more deployed within kind of remote communities for power, maybe more in the oil sands for, to decarbonize and electrify some things there. So again, just kind of finding the right use cases, testing the sentiment of the public as well, and engaging with public stakeholders, whether or not that's if that's desired, and if nuclear would be welcomed in the province. So again, all that is
What
just
did you learn? Did people want it? Did people like it when you had discussions about this?
yeah. So all of that is still kind of be like in progress right
It's in
now.
progress. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and those discussions and community engagement, and stakeholder engagement, I should say. So that's kind of been ongoing. So I would be remiss to comment on that at this time. But I do think that there are some good use cases. We're friendly with Saskatchewan, which is right next door to us, and they obviously have a lot of uranium reserves too. So, and then we have a bit of a supply chain within on Canada, with some conversion and processing in Ontario. So there could be a lot of, and now for like the more enriched uranium and the HALEU production, that's a different story. But again, there are some opportunities for a nuclear supply chain potentially across Canada, and then again looking into some things within Alberta.
Yeah. I mean, nuclear in Canada is huge, right? Like you guys' unique CANDU reactors that have been exported all over the world. The GE Hitachi experiment that's going on in Ontario right now. I say experiment, the SMR that is getting built, right? BWX 300.
I hope
But
it's not an
that,
experiment. I hope it's
yeah,
more of
hopefully not an experiment, right? The commencement of a global program to deploy SMRs everywhere, right? It's just the
yeah.
first one.
It seems like maybe the market and world is kind of watching OPG's Darlington nuclear facility right now, just to see if it will, or SMR facility, just to see how that goes. So hopefully all goes well, and construction, always comes with its challenges. But yeah, I think Canada is a leader, and, for power as well as for medical purposes too, which I feel like is always kind of forgotten in the nuclear space, but obviously very, very important. So there's lots of potential. Again, just trying to figure out, like, then you introduce the regulatory environment, and what does that look like? There's a lot of challenges. So it's definitely a longer term solution. I think if anything does come on within Alberta, potential strong use cases here.
Yeah. But I mean, the natural gas case in Alberta is like massive, right? I mean, there's just so much natural gas. You said abundant supply and low cost, but I think that's without adding a bunch of adjectives like enormous supply and fantastically low cost. Like it's I don't know. I saw a presentation by one of the sharks, Kevin O'Leary, that was
Mhm.
like Edmonton, Alberta, like the mother lode of it all. Those were his words, mother lode of natural gas.
Yeah, we do have a lot. And same with our neighbors to the west too, in BC, and in the northeast, there's some natural gas as well. So that's why, LNG was a big attraction for some of the stranded natural gas here where we can't get it to market necessarily due to some infrastructure challenges. And if anybody,
Like building pipelines over the Canadian Rockies
or to the south or to the
or to the
east,
south, right? Yeah, building any pipeline. Yeah.
we're not really, the inter-provincial trade within Canada has, and I don't want to get political or anything, but it has been, I feel like the cracks have in the foundation have definitely come through the past few months with the tariff talks and everything, and trying to create more of a one Canada approach, but recognizing that interprovincial trade does not work, whether it is beer. It could be even truckers, having to have different chains and stuff and tires moving from one province to the next. So never mind trying to build a long distance transmission or pipeline. So lots of
Yeah,
challenges there, lots of potential too. Yeah, so we are blessed with our natural resources, and hopefully we can continue to expand. I think too with some of the maybe slow down in the Permian. There's some potential for some more Canadian oil. So again, just market access has always been a challenge.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can leave the interprovincial trade to another discussion. Fascinating discussion, but
The
um,
big discussion.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so Charles River, right? You found yourself there after a stint working for provincial government. Like, how's it been? What kind of work are you guys doing? Yeah, give us a little color into your current day job.
It's been great. Charles River has been, this is actually the 60th anniversary. I said it within the energy practice, so I'm a little bit ignorant to some of the other work that we do, but basically kind of two different arms. One is more the commercial advisory, so some consulting type work versus expert testimony and litigation. So within the energy practice, so first off, Charles River operates on more of an expert driven model. So everybody here at the firm is kind of this wide, but miles deep. And so, whether it's from regulatory background, whether it's from distribution, transmission, like grid enhancement products, kind of whatever the niche is, that's where people kind of find their specialty. And so that's been, I think, really useful when it comes to engaging with clients. So on the obviously expert testimony side, it's great appearing on behalf of utilities in front of their regulators to provide that, kind of expertise testimony. And then also on the commercial advisory side, I feel like having worked at Accenture and PwC was different is that, again, it's coming in with, still kind of the functional strategy and management consulting type skill sets, but also just being able to apply very strong like compliance or governance viewpoints that I feel like without having some, really deep roots within the industry would be more difficult to have at other firms. So yeah, it's been really good. The nature of the work has been interesting. I feel like me personally, I'm kind of interested within our like resource adequacy, which I talked about, which is basically looking at, is there going to be enough power to supply growing demand, and how is that power accredited and considered and accounted for as well by an RTO. I'm thinking through like interconnection, new transmission build out too. There's a lot going on within the utility space, and then layering in, layering in all these changes at the federal level down in the US with, changing wind and solar credits, more nuclear mandates. So there's just lots going on. Reshoring and manufacturing, that's going to be another potentially area of load growth as well, and not just data centers. So it's a really fascinating time to be in this space. And I'm kind of fortunate I'm coming in with like a bit more of a functional background, I think. So I kind of get to kind of apply my skill set in regards to strategic thinking or investment decisions into a wide variety of topics. So yeah, I can't say enough about the firm and the team. So.
Nice. I want to double click on this idea of energy markets, purely energy markets versus capacity. Catalyst, which is a podcast I listen to, it's fantastic. Just had a guy from PJM. We're talking about PJM capacity markets and how capacity markets in the US are now getting more and more expensive. Which like these are two separate parts of how you can buy energy, right? Like capacity being like energy is available at all times, and then energy being like, hey, we're paying for the energy as we use it. And you're saying Alberta's similar to ERCOT, where it's just an energy market. You don't get paid for the availability, but like that's straining the system now, and it is becoming problematic. Am I thinking about that correctly? Or
Well, when you think about it within, so first off, basically the capacity payments try to solve that missing money problem. So basically compensating generators to be online, to be available, to produce with a appropriate return on capital beyond the energy market or ancillary services that they would provide. In Alberta, so because that capacity payment is missing to solve that missing money problem, basically what we've observed within the Alberta market over time has been a bit of a tolerated level of market power, if you will, and it's kind of embedded within the Alberta market construct. So that has been successful in regards to creating these, scarcity events or price spikes and higher prices to basically incentivize new generation. So it's kind of letting the market forces do its work more or less without a lot of intervention, without mandating this is how much we need, etc. Now, Alberta is going through a bit of a restructuring on their market and some of the electricity design. So, some more guardrails around scarcity pricing, more guardrails around price caps and even negative pricing, price floors will come into play over the next latter part of this decade and starting kind of in 2026. So that could shake up the market a little bit and change some of those nuances in regards to how the market has behaved traditionally with this market power just being tolerated. So it's interesting. And ERCOT, I can't speak too much to. I'm not as familiar with, kind of how they have been, but again, operating on very similar where it's letting the market forces do its work and attracting and kind of providing incentives for that type of investment. So when you, like, for example, in Alberta, when now you're introducing a negative pricing without a production tax credit for wind and solar, well, if you're generating during the negative pricing hours, then you're actually like at an economic disadvantage. So again, it's changing some of the market signals in regards and investment signals in regards to what would get built within the province.
Yeah. Nice. I mean, you live in Alberta, but do you just advise on stuff in Alberta, or is your work broader than that?
No, I would say majority of my clients currently are in the US, and I feel like majority of my work over the past at least 5 years has been more US focused. So,
Specific areas of the US, or just kind of all over the place?
no, I've kind of worked broad, like in the East a little bit or Midwest, in the US Gulf Coast, California. So I think it's nice, like, the US is obviously such a bigger market than Canada. There's obviously a very important market to us and to the rest of the world for a lot of reasons. So sometimes it's a little bit more exciting down south of the border. And, I think just like being able to kind of understand on a global perspective what's going on and from a more continental perspective, and then bringing it back to from a Canada lens has been useful. And then vice versa, kind of sharing my perspectives on north of the border with some of my colleagues who are more focused on the US. So it's been a nice, I'm fortunate to have the view of both, I guess.
Okay, so Energy Leadership Institute, ELI. Do you guys call it ELI? Is there an acronym to this?
Yeah.
LE? Like, yeah. What is this organization? How did it get started? Yeah, give us the history. Give us the background.
Yeah. So the Energy Leadership Institute is a relatively new organization. It is a 501(c) nonprofit in the US. So it is kind of headquartered down there. The Energy Leadership Institute okay, so first off, there was a program called Energy Generation, or the NGen program. Kind of pre-ELI, so pre-Energy Leadership Institute. That program was operated in Colorado,
Oil
COSA,
and Gas Association. Yeah,
COGA. Yeah.
Koga.
Just
Yep.
so the NGen program kind of was started within Colorado Oil and Gas Association, COGA, and ran quite a few cohorts, and I'll talk about what that program looks like. And then a few of the participants from there, they all got together during COVID and said, okay, I think we can do this at a bigger scale, and I think we can have more impact. Obviously, from my understanding, before that, that was very kind of Colorado and oil and gas focused. And then the recognition was, okay, like energy is changing, X is going to change, the future is changing. How do we kind of stay abreast on some of those topics? And so that's kind of where the Energy Leadership Institute was informed to basically encourage dialogue across from various facets of the energy industry, not just oil and gas, not just emerging energy, but just kind of all things, and bring kind of emerging leaders and leaders together across the US and Canada too. There's a few of us from involved, obviously, to have these dialogues and to think through and try to solve some of the most complex and pressing issues that the energy industry faces.
Yeah. Yeah, I had lunch with Drew yesterday,
Okay, nice.
which is he's on the board, and he was one of the founders, I guess, of
Yeah.
ELI, or the Energy Leadership Institute. So yeah, he said the NGen program started in like 2010 with Koga, and has had like a number of cohorts and awesome people that have gone through it. So
Yeah. And so just to explain more the NGen program. So that's kind of the flagship program of the Energy Leadership Institute. Kind of our other two pillars are like community sponsorship, and then also thought leadership, which is something, and alumni engagement, which is something we're trying to expand and grow on. But kind of our main focus has been the NGen program. And so basically, the NGen program is a 1-year executive leadership development program. It's designed to cultivate visionary leaders from, again, all across areas of the energy industry. So basically, it provides participants with exclusive and a collaborative forum to enhance those leadership skills, to foster cross-sector collaboration, innovation, and figure out some of these challenges. I was a cohort member, I think 2023, and it was, I don't want to say life-changing because that sounds very dramatic, but it was a fascinating experience. And
It can
Mark,
be life changing.
well, yeah, like, and I guess
Professional programs can have a huge impact on your life. Yeah.
yeah, and Mark, you experienced some of the magic, I guess, a couple weeks ago or a few weeks ago at Stanford at our July seminar. So we'd love to hear your perspectives too. But basically, what it is a group of like 25 to 28 mid to senior level career folks, again, from oil and gas, from renewables, from utilities, from financing, from tribal organizations, from consulting. It's just like it's such a diverse background, and I feel like the more voices you get in the room, the more kind of provocative and thought-provoking conversations you can have. So basically, like, NGen is, as I said, so it's a 10-month program. We host quarterly in-person seminars. So those are hosted with our partners in Denver, with NREL in DC as well. So Denver, we kind of start off kicking off by just like, Energy 101, all the different areas, just kind of focusing on a few different key trends and just kind of setting the scene in January. In April this year, we went to DC to talk about the politics and to talk about the impact of regulation and policy on energy, and that sometimes gets very having both sides of the aisle in those discussions can get very interesting, and focus on other topics like energy justice, etc., just to kind of round out the approach. Our third seminar is with our partners at Stanford, the Natural Gas Institute, and that one is much more focused on climate change and emerging technology. So as you know, Mark, the topic this year was, before we talked a lot about hydrogen and CCS. This year was a bit more focused on, like SMR, nuclear. We haven't really had a dedicated conversation to that before. Obviously, level setting on just general topics of, climate change and the impacts. We talked about wildfire mitigation and planning this year, which was a fascinating discussion. And then also hearing from founders and whatnot who have actually built companies within the energy space down in the Silicon Valley area. So just kind of rounding it all out. And then the fourth one is we go to Houston in October. And again, that one's even thinking more broad. So more the geopolitical, looking beyond just the bounds of continental US and North America, and focusing on engagement with other geographies and countries on energy trade. And that one is in partnership with Rice University. So those are kind of the 4 quarterly in-person seminars. We also have monthly virtual programs kind of in between. So basically half-day virtual seminars that include like programming, some discussions, a little bit of networking, where we kind of hit upon more of the leadership topics. So like change management, mentorship, conflict resolution, DEI, some of those, like the things that just kind of like round out a proper leader as well, and do that with various speakers that we bring in and whatnot. I would say too that kind of like the beauty and like the magic of NGen kind of comes from, it's nice to be virtual, but also being all together. And we're trying to create more of that community across the US now that we're, 3 cohorts deep from this ELI-led NGen, not discounting any of the prior ELI NGen participants, but I'm creating a bit more of a alumni network as well, and various networking sessions in Houston or Denver, where kind of most of the cohort tends to, and we're looking to expand that even more, just to create more of a community again. I mean, I've met some people I never would have met through NGen, and some friends, and yeah, I can't say enough about the program.
How did you find it? I mean, you were in the first cohort with Eli, right?
Yes. So I was actually introduced to it by one of my mentors, Naomi Boness from Stanford's Natural Gas Initiative and Hydrogen Initiative. Kind of was just like being a bit of a keener and like looking for how do I get more involved in things, kind of contemplating, do I go back to school at this time to do a master's or not? And she introduced me to this program, and Naomi sits on our advisory board and has been an absolutely critical partner to our Stanford events and whatnot. So she's been great. The value of mentors is like that's a whole different discussion. And I'm very grateful for Naomi and others that have provided me with these opportunities. And my goal is to give as well. I do just want to call out again, just to round out some of our diverse backgrounds. Some of our sponsors too have been GTI Energy, Phillips 66, Apex, Chevron, New Jersey Resources, Gradient Geothermal, and we're growing that sponsorship base as well for this upcoming year. And again,
Yeah, so
looking
these are big organizations from a myriad of backgrounds that like find this effort worthy of giving dollars to. So
correct. And I think too, it's from, the benefit to a sponsor is, access to like talent, right? Like just broadening that, but also just getting a little bit more in the like ingrained within, it's kind of a nice program where there are some aspects of like energy, but also some aspects of training and development too. So kind of like hitting upon some of those points too. So again, that's been great. And again, we couldn't do it without our sponsors. Like I mentioned, NREL, I think JP Morgan, Colorado School of Mines, Stanford Natural Gas Initiative, CU, Denver, and Rice University. So again, we would not be in existence without those partners and sponsors.
so you found out about it through a mentor, but if folks want to learn more about the program, I mean, this is obviously right. Like we're able to talk about it here and promote it, but folks can go online and learn more.
Yes, so I'm happy to share the link with you, but we also do have our applications for our upcoming 2026 cohort. They are due in 10 days, so closing August 15th. Basically, the application process would end, like the interview process kind of goes into the fall, and then selection, I think by November, and then kind of we have like an intro meeting in December, and then the program kind of kicks off officially in January. So, and again, that runs for 10 months. It's not a huge time commitment other than kind of 2 days and a half, I guess, every quarter within our in-person meetups, and then the 3 hours once per month on the virtual calls. So it's not a huge time commitment. It is accessible from a cost perspective, and yeah, a great opportunity. So happy to, for any of those listeners interested, you can reach out to me, and happy to share more perspectives on the program. And Mark, maybe I'll send, if you have a link to post.
Yeah, absolutely. We can post in the show notes. Yeah.
And we're expecting
I,
your application too.
yeah, I can't wait. I'll say, right, so like you invited me to come out to Stanford and be a speaker
Mhm.
and chat with you guys about nuclear energy, and I didn't really know what I was getting into with the group, but I was able to stick around for a couple days, and like these are small groups of people, but the quality of individual is incredible. Like I was blown away by the cohort that you guys had assembled, and like it's a pretty exclusive group in my opinion, and not like exclusive in like an elitist way, but exclusive in like a, hey, these are hard hitting, like highly functional, very capable human beings that are making a huge contribution to the energy industry, and like to
Yeah.
be part of that, uh, it is awesome. I was really impressed with everyone that was kind of involved with the 2025 cohort. So.
I appreciate you saying that. And I think that's a perfect way to put it. Again, we look for those folks that have a passion, that have, obviously relevant experience, have proven some of their leadership capabilities and desire to enhance them even more, and are able to carry on, engage and have these conversations and put themselves out there, make themselves a little bit vulnerable sometimes, get to know other people from other backgrounds, and be able to have those discussions. The group that we select usually comes together and just like it's a perfect mix. There's not really any bad apples ever. And it just seems to be like everybody kind of meshes, and regardless of your background or anything else, it's been great. So I think that's really what just encourages the magic of NGen to come together even more in regards to that informed dialogue and different perspectives. And again, just broadening horizons and talking to people that you never thought that you would talk to or hear from. And I think too, just having the exposure to some of the speakers, whether it's the virtual seminars or even on on our in-person meetups, that's a huge opportunity too. And hearing from, some very well-respected leaders and CEOs in their space, and in a kind of a vulnerable Chatham House rule, but, closed door environment has been fascinating too.
Yeah, Chatham House rule, but like no phones, no like what's if said in the room stays in the room. Like the
Yeah, not
goal is,
attributed to anybody. And
yeah,
again,
yeah,
and so it's not like for CEO or executive to be up there. It's not just like a typical earnings call. It is more about like, what are they concerned about? What keeps them up at night? And then also hearing their leadership journey, and how they got to where they are, and some of their big, you know, notable events and challenges in their career that they've had to deal with. And just in that raw, vulnerable view has been great. So we try not to make it, it's obviously educational, but try not to make it just like, stand and deliver, make it very, and I think like the nice part too is the interactivity from the cohort. The cohort usually asks questions, probes on things, maybe disagrees slightly or challenges, and having that dialogue from, with the speakers as well has been great.
Yeah, I mean, like I want to talk about some of the things that we saw at the Stanford event, but like, yeah, we can't, right? Or we're not supposed to so, publicly. So, but we can say like you guys had Maynard Holt there as one of
Mhm.
your keynote speakers, right? And Maynard's awesome, right? Like everything that he's done with Veriton and their team, and he offered some perspectives that were just incredible. So,
Yeah,
um,
Maynard's a very close friend and a great mentor as well to me. So he's and hearing his perspectives on the energy industry kind of unfiltered because he's usually the one interviewing people on his podcast, Close of
yeah.
Business Tuesday, and now hearing his perspectives was just a nice change.
Exactly. Yeah, I was like, oh my God, this is
Yeah,
yeah, you don't get this kind of content publicly.
exactly.
Like it's all yeah. So I mean, like, and this is a competitive process, right? Like people apply for the program and presumably you have more applicants than you take people in, right? So and it's closing quickly. So if folks want to be
Correct.
involved for the 2026 program, then it's kind of like act now or
August 15th. The application is decently thorough, but again, it's just to get a good sense of who you are, and then we do a brief interview as well, just to kind of put a face to a name and hear a little bit more about folks' stories, and then make our selection from there.
yeah.
Mhm.
Nice. I mean, this is, you said alumni network. It's more than just the 3 years of alumni that have gone through through Energy Leadership Institute, but through KOGA too. I mean, and
Mhm.
I guess being part of a single year, you might, develop close relationships with 20, 25, 30 folks from that cohort, but then you get access. I mean, it's kind of a branding and access to the rest of the alumni network, right?
Exactly, and I think that that's what we think about upcoming priorities for the next year, 3 years, for example, or at least a couple years. One is really fostering, now that we have a bit more depth too from Eli, NGen, and then also pre Eli, NGen, being able to make those connections as well, right? So hosting kind of out of the traditional cohort programming happy hours in different cities, like I said. One event that I think is a great opportunity to bring folks together is our graduation ceremony in October in Houston. And again, I think that the more diverse backgrounds we can get from folks who have gone through the program in one way or another, even former speakers or just other folks that we know within the industry, I think that's a great opportunity as well, just to kind of foster that cross collaboration. I think about like the vision for Eli and NGen, like I said, down the road, I think it goes beyond just this formal program and actually being able to, reach out to folks, whether it's for personal, business perspectives, engage in that dialogue, kind of take the magic of NGen and get it outside of NGen, we're working on hosting webinars throughout the year and to kind of open up some of the topics that we discussed to the public as well. So again, there's lots of opportunities to expand. And I think that that's going to be kind of our focus now that we have a good foundation and we've proven that this works and we've got some great testimonials and feedback. It's okay. Now, where do we go from here and how do we expand that?
Yeah. Yeah. You guys looking for people from every energy sector, but like you need more folks from nuclear, right? So come
Absolutely.
on, mid-career like leaders in the nuclear industry that want to step up and get exposure, like
Yeah.
apply, absolutely.
Like I
But
said,
also
financing, nonprofits, government,
oil and
advisory,
gas,
whatever, oil and
still
gas.
oil and gas. Oil and gas guys are still welcome, all right?
Yep. No, it's definitely like again, it's all facets of the energy industry. We're not selective. So
So, I mean, if this program is successful, then what does this look like for the future of energy? Which I think it's awesome, right? That there's cross collaboration that happens between folks in different sectors of the energy industry. They get to cross pollinate and share ideas. But it's stuff like this that like companies are founded on and new organizations are built. I mean, is that kind of your guys' vision? Where do you see this going, and how does it
no,
help the energy industry in the future?
I think you answered your own question because I think that's
I know,
exactly.
I just answered
I think
it.
I would have said though, in regards to where is it heading, like that's exactly the kind of community that we want to build. The more that you're in the energy industry, it's smaller than you think. So, there's are some regular folks that you kind of get to know and see at conferences or, across the country or whatever it is. And I think like creating more of those connections is key, but also just like forcing people kind of out of their areas. And like so for folks maybe in oil and gas, like have been kind of heads down on like maybe more the field side of things and actually like the E&P, and being like, okay, like what else is going on within the energy space, and kind of how could that impact my job, and how could that benefit my job, how could that change, what do I else I need to be thinking about. I think it's again just like creating this more well-rounded energy leader over time that's more aware of events going on of other industries, of industry trends, of how to think about things, from a nonprofit or community perspective, right? Like the impact, we all, for example, talk about decarbonization, but what is the impact on ratepayers and environmental justice communities? So there's so much that I feel like sometimes is just forgotten when you're so much in the weeds on a day-to-day basis and kind of within your silo, that it's important to kind of take a step back and be challenged and challenge your thinking from other perspectives. So again, it's that cross-functional, cross-collaborative environment that we hope to, and lead, and well-rounded leader that we hope to create.
Yeah. I mean, I saw it. There's an executive from one of the largest oil and gas companies in the country that was a member of the cohort, and he told me like his motivation was to see outside of oil and gas and see, get a broader perspective and what else was going on. Taylor, give us your picture of the future. Paint the picture. Like, where is the energy industry going? What does it look like? Leave us on an optimistic note of kind of how the next 5, 10, 15 years are playing out.
I feel like that's everybody's question right now. I do not have a crystal ball, so obviously it's
You don't have to be right.
impossible.
It's okay to be wrong.
I will say I hope that it's an all of the above approach. I hope that there's a recognition for, lower carbon opportunities and emerging, or no, I shouldn't say emerging, but newer technologies like SMRs and coming in the forefront, but also recognizing that oil and gas is still going to be part of our mix. Maybe that's the Albertan in me, but 100% I'm a strong believer within the oil and gas industry, and it functions our life, or powers our life. So I'm really excited to see, again, more of an all of the above approach. I hope that's what's taken. I hope that it's also a pragmatic and economic approach where what makes sense economically works versus forcing something through and kind of fighting that uphill battle, or even fighting against thermodynamics sometimes with some of these emerging energy industries, and really finding the best use cases for them to make things go. I hope from a Canadian perspective that there's a lot more interprovincial cooperation and more of a one Canada approach. I hope that more things get built. And I think that's, north and south of the border and anywhere else, right? Being able to, permitting is a long process. Regulatory is a long process. And I hope that that changes, because we do need more infrastructure. We do need things to get built. And the more delays, the more cost, and eventually it's just passed upon to regular citizens. So that's my hope. I hope that there's some recognition too, just for like, again, that cross collaboration, not going back to my first point about, all the above approach, not one being bad or one being better than the other. So that's my hope. I feel like I'll leave it on more of a hopeful note instead of this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's perfect. Awesome. Taylor Amato, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.